Mhm. Okay, we are waiting for people. Are we live? Mm. Just waiting for a few more people to join in, and then we will get on with the chat. And
Sure. Hey, Andrea.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm good. We are just starting the day here in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It's very distant and different time zones, right? For me, it's really the morning, and for you, it's the evening already. So, yeah.
It is 7 o'clock in the evening, almost night.
Yeah, here it's like 10:30 in the morning. We're just starting the day. So yeah, it's I was really happy when you contacted me because um I have always been curious about India and yeah, it was very interesting. I'm so happy that you called me. Yeah.
No, thank you. I think I really need to thank you for accepting the invitation, for coming
Mhm.
here because I was always fascinated about Brazil from a very young age because I had a lot of Brazilian friends from Rio de Janeiro and down south. Everybody were a lot. I had a lot of friends from Brazil, and Brazil was something which was very fascinating for me. You know,
Mhm.
so it was really amazing to know that somebody like you is out there doing such amazing work for dancing. And I thought it's a great opportunity for people in India to know what exactly is happening in dance in Brazil, and how are you taking it forward. So I think without a further ado, I think we can start off with it, right?
What?
I said, without a further ado, I think we can start off with asking you questions about how,
Oh,
what,
how did I start dancing?
uh-huh.
Okay, so I started dance at 5 years old. I
Mm-hmm.
my family had my aunt, my father's sister had a dance school, very small local dance school, and my parents divorced, and I was really young, and it
Mm-hmm.
was really tumultuous. There was a lot of conflict in my house, so dance was something to cope with. Like dance was a tool for me of, of healing, of escaping the conflicts. And it was, in the beginning, it was like a fascinating thing, for me as a child to be on stage. I was on stage at 5. I had I was very uninhibited. Like people said, oh, maybe she's going to be ashamed. I was really right in front of everybody. I was in the middle of the whole play, and I said I want to be in. And so I was doing everything. I knew all the parts, I knew all the roles. I really want to be on stage since like really a child. My
Mm-hmm.
mom, my mom also was involved with the arts, and she danced. And she passed away already, but yeah, but when I was growing up, like she took me to some dance classes. So, it was in the family. And but I lived many years with my aunt, and I was helping her actually to run the business. Like when I grew up a little bit more. I started to learn more about managing, but in the practice, like to get the students to to charge for the classes, to pay the teachers, to do renovations in the schools. I was helping her to manage the place. And like I always did the how do you call that, the amateur um world of dance, like means
Yeah.
competition. And that really it's a reality, the amateur, how do you call that,
The concert
it's
dance, the competition dancing.
yeah, it's the circle of what happens in the amateur dance. You have
Hmm.
shows, competitions. Pretty much people love to compete, which I find
Yeah.
it really weird. I mean, I don't think dance or art should be taken to this level of competition. I don't think a
Yeah.
medal defines you as a dancer, or or you should put children to compete.
Yeah.
Why does a child is better than the other child? And this is, I always thought this was really, it didn't give me a good feeling, but I did it anyways because that's what we were supposed to do back then. Today, as an educator, I really, all my events were never about competition. I really wanted to change that. But
Hmm.
growing up, that's what I really did. I had a really intense schedule as a child. I was an
Hmm.
executive child. I was never a regular child. I had school,
Hmm.
I have rehearsal, I have many shows. I was booked every weekend. We
Hmm.
had a folkloric group. There's a you have I know you have a beautiful dance in India, which is I love the traditional uh, folkloric dance in India. It's so beautiful. It has so many details. And here we have also the region folklore, and we had a child group of folklore. So we were booked every weekend. So I had no weekends off. I was not a
Hmm.
regular child at all. I
Hmm.
was really a a stage child. I was always on stage. I was always wearing makeup. I was always performing. And really I had no time. I went to school. I hated school. I hated regular school because my father's a university teacher, so he wanted to make
Hmm.
sure we had the best education possible, which
Hmm. Hmm.
I thank him a lot for that. I was in literacy. I studied French and English, so I'm fluent in French and I'm fluent in English. And but I think, like, I don't speak Spanish well, and this is a shame because we are in South America, and our countries that surround us, they speak Spanish and I don't. I have like an European education, and and I don't speak Spanish, and I think I resent that. But in the other hand, I had an European education, and I read philosophers. I was really different from every other child, right? So I was,
Hmm.
and I had no friends. Like, I had two, three, four friends at the most, and my friends were the artists. I had a pianist friend. I had a friend that became a visual artist. So that was my group, because the popular group at the school, they would reject me. I actually, it's not even rejection, because I didn't mix myself with them. It was
Hmm.
self-imposed separation. I said, I
Yeah.
don't resonate with them. It was a
Hmm.
scientific school, so I went to school. For me, school was similar as punishment. I felt like I was in jail for 10 years. So from 7 a.m. until 1 p.m. I was in jail. That's how I saw it every day. I went to jail, and I
Hmm.
was like looking at the clock, and I had no time for homework, because, like, when I had the last break before leaving, I had to put on my ballet outfit underneath the uniform, because when
Hmm.
I finished, my father was waiting with the car and food. So I was doing my my hair, eating, and I went to the ballet conservatory right away from school. So my life for me started the minute I entered the dance school.
Mm.
So the regular school for me was really something that my father obliged me, or people or society obliged me. So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
resonate, not with the school itself, and also with the colleagues. I hated to be
Mm-hmm.
there. And I made it very clear that I didn't like the people, that I don't talk to the people, and I was just going to do what I have to do and leave.
Mm-hmm.
So really for me, like, it was very difficult for me growing up, because I mean, I was an alien, pretty much. I had alien. And I had no life. Like, my life was really a rehearsal studio, and I went like that forever, I think, Vishal. I never had a regular life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
that really shaped me into being a person that knows what I want. I know what I want,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that I had to make my own opportunities, because when I at my 20s, like not even 16, it's when you decide university, right? I finished school. I said, I'm free from school now. I'm going to do what I want with my life. And I didn't want to be a professional dancer. I wanted to be an actress.
Mm.
Because I didn't like ballet. I got injured, and I realized it had nothing to do with ballet
Mm.
itself. It had to do with bad teachers that I had. So I got injured, and I didn't like the competition part. Oh, I think
Yeah,
you're
I'm
back.
here. I'm
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah. Well, so when I got to decide, I mean, when I got to decide the university back then, in
Mm-hmm.
Brazil, we don't have good dance schools in university. We don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Even today,
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
the university in Brazil, in terms of dance, is not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to go for theater. So
Mm-hmm.
I did a Bachelor of Fine Arts in theater. So I have 4-year studies in theater. So I became an actress.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the same time that I found out about modern dance. I didn't know about modern dance until I was
Mm.
17. So I was
Mm-hmm.
already in the university. I took a summer course in a school, and I was introduced to the Lester Horton technique. And I said, wow, I I was already in the university doing theater, but
Mm-hmm.
I started to take the modern dance classes, and I started to, wanting to know more. The local teacher taught some gram based, but it was not really
Mm-hmm.
the core of gram, but it was a gram based, but I adored that. So when I've learned about modern dance, I
Mm-hmm.
knew I liked the stage. I knew I was very expressive. So I thought it was the marriage between expression and dance. And it
Mm-hmm.
had nothing to do with ballet. It had nothing to do with fairy tale world. I didn't want to be
Mm-hmm.
a fairy. I didn't want to be a swan. I really wanted to be myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I said that's where I want to be. I want to go to modern dance. And then I wanted to go to New York, and that was, my dream forever, to be in New York City, but my family couldn't afford that.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried several scholarships throughout the years, and in 2005 I was 28 years old, and my mom passed. I lost my mom. That aunt that owned the dance school, she died before, and
Mm-hmm.
the second year, like the year after that, my mom. So in 2 years I lost like the two women that raised me, like,
Praise you. Yeah.
and I was, it was really a shock for me back because they both of them died with brain tumor out of the blue, like all of a sudden, and it was a shock for me. And at the same token, I was building my studio in my father's place, a studio in the
Mm.
backyard that I have today, but it was many years ago. And I had all my economies, all the money that I had, everything that I owned, I put that in the studio. I invested
Mm-hmm.
everything to have my own studio. And then it was when I met
Are you, sorry to cut you, are you in the studio right now?
no, this is my bedroom. I'm in my bedroom. I live in a big house. It was like
Mm.
a family house that was built 40 years ago. When I'm 43, so I moved to this neighborhood like I was really young, and then my father built up like brick after brick, and today is a huge house. And in the backyard, I had a huge area, and he had to build up something to contain the soil. So we
Mm-hmm.
had like a huge platform, and I said, well, this fits a huge dance studio, so I'm gonna make a dance studio. So, but
Mm-hmm.
it was like really in like 15 years ago that I
Mm-hmm.
started to build the studio, and then I invested everything. And then the Graham Company came to Brazil. It was the last
Mm.
time the Graham Company performed in Brazil. It was in
Mm-hmm.
2005. Can you imagine that? The last time the
Wow.
Graham Company stepped in South America, it was in 2005, like
15
16
years
years
ago.
ago.
15, yeah.
It's a long time. So these new
Yeah.
generations, they know nothing about Graham, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when I was growing up, we had all these foreign companies visiting us. I grew up having the privilege to see David Parsons performing every year at the Municipal Theater. And I went there. I
Mm-hmm.
was a fan of David. Later on in
Mm-hmm.
life, when we became friends, I couldn't imagine that I would be friends with David Parsons in the future because I became
Yeah.
friends with him. But I couldn't imagine that because I grew up seeing him before, like when he came with the Paul Taylor Dance Company as a dancer,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
when he started his company in the 80s, and I grew up watching him every year in the performances. I was like a fan of the company, of his work, of, because
Mm-hmm.
he has a very strong connection with Brazil. He choreographed with a lot of Brazilian scores. So he loved Brazilian music, and
Mm-hmm.
he bought an apartment in Brazil. So
Mm-hmm.
he and I became friends later on, but like I had the privilege of growing up watching all the Joyce Theater program being performed in Rio de Janeiro every year. So
Mm.
nowadays, the new generation don't have this privilege anymore. So
No, they don't.
in
I agree.
2000, yeah, in 2005, the Graham Company came to perform, and one of my
Mm-hmm.
mother's friends, she called me because my mom passed, and I went to tell the news, and we were sad. And then she said, "What are you doing?" And I was doing a research on modern dance in Brazil, like the history, the first generations, and I was paid by the government to do that. I got a
Mm-hmm.
scholarship for that. So we started to discuss, and I was said, oh, maybe I'll release a book on that, and then she said, oh, since you're having so much interest in modern dance, um, here in the theater, Graham Company is coming. Do you want to be the translator of the Graham Company? I said, are you kidding me? Of course I want.
Mm-hmm.
And then she put me as the official translator for the company. And I got to be the assistant of Kenneth Topping. I don't know if you know him. Kenneth Topping was a former principal dancer with the Martha Graham Dance Company. He was director of the ensemble in the 90s, and he was
Mm-hmm.
director of the Graham School. And in
Mm-hmm.
2005, he was the assistant for rehearsals of the company. So he came to the tour not as a dancer, but as a rehearsal director.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I became really close because I had to pick him up at the hotel every day. We had meals together, and I went to the workshops he gave to the community here, and I
Mm-hmm.
was translating for him all the time. And then he said, after like 2 weeks, like with this contact, he said, "You
Mm-hmm.
have to come to New York." And I said, "Well, I'm too old." I was 28, and I said, I'm too old for that. And he said, "No, you're not. I mean, don't you know that Graham, the Martha, was like over 40 when she became famous? You don't know that."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, I know, but she's Martha Graham." And I said, "So you were talented. You have to come." And I said, "Yeah, my family doesn't have money." I was putting everything he was saying, I was putting a barrier. I said, "I don't have money. I don't do that." I was just like, and he said, he didn't say anything. And the next morning, he came with an envelope to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I opened the envelope. I said, "What is that?" He said, "Read the envelope." And I opened up, and it was a scholarship to go to New York.
Mm-hmm.
He called the school and
Wow.
he asked for a scholarship for me. And I said, "Now you're going. Now you don't have any excuse to present me, and you're going." And I said, "Well, I guess I'm going then." So, I mean, it was the person that really gave me that push to
Mm-hmm.
go, like move,
Mm-hmm.
like do something. You're talented. And I never had anyone to really give me this push, like to do something on my behalf. I never got like anyone that gave me anything. I always had to fight for everything. So, and then I said to my dad, I got a scholarship, and I thought, "But you just spent all your money building the studio. Now you're leaving. What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I have to go. I mean, it's New York. It's my dream." And and to be honest with you, Vishal, uh, sometimes we bury our dreams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of
Yeah.
everything, because of money, because of this, because of that. And then we think, "Oh, I'm too old. I have no time." And you start to
Yeah.
open in the soil, you start to bury your dreams. And I was
Yeah.
miserable. I had not enough knowledge of modern dance the way that I wanted to have.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same token, I was having a studio. I was a good teacher. I'm not saying that I was never a good teacher, because I did study,
Mm-hmm.
but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the experience that I wanted to have. I wanted
Yeah.
to experience the real thing, and I didn't. And I was just given a bunch of excuses that I don't have money, I don't have this, I don't have that, I'm old, I'm this, I'm that. And I said, "You know
Mm-hmm.
what? I don't have money." And my father said, "I'm not giving you any money." I said, "Don't give me any money." So I went to the bank. I had no credit. I was broken, completely broken. I went to the bank. I had no credit. And I had this envelope with my scholarship. And I went to talk to the manager. And I said, "Can I talk to a manager in the bank?" And then there was no smartphone, no internet. There was like
Yeah.
2000,
Yeah.
right? There was nothing like that. So I went in person. I went there, and I there was a woman that was put in front of me, and I said, "Listen, I just got a scholarship to go to a very famous dance school in New York, and I have no money. Can you help me?" And I think sometimes God, or whatever you want to call the spiritual world, and they help you out. So this woman looked in my eyes and said, "Oh my God, my daughter is a dancer. I'm going to help you." I said, "Thank you." So she said, "Can you wait a little bit?" And I said, "Okay." So there, as I told you, there was no distractions, no smartphone. So I sat there for 2 hours in the bank looking
Wow.
to the ceiling. And then she disappeared. And then when she came back, she said, come here, come here. Are you still there? And then she said, I got you a loan, like a student loan. And you're going to pay like for 2 years. It was like a very tiny amount for 2 years. I said, I'll take anything that you can give me. Fine. And then I came home and I said to my dad, I have the money. I have money for flight. And he said, yeah, but it's not just that. Where are you staying? And I had a friend. I've been to New York traveling before, like just for to know the city before. I had a friend there. I called her and I said, listen, can you help me? And she said, yeah, sure. I have an apartment that I use as to, she used to sublet for Brazilians, like Brazilians in a short, today we know this as Airbnb, but back then there was no Airbnb, but she did a kind of Airbnb at her place in Manhattan. And she said, yeah, you can stay here and you can help clean the apartment for me. I said, fine, whatever. Can I stay with you? She said, sure. As long as you're cleaning, fine. I said, okay. So I had a place to stay. I had a flight ticket, and I got to, to gather an amount of money. And it was a long process to get my student visa. It was, how hard it is. I don't know about Indian citizens, but for Brazilian citizens, they make you pass through a hell so you can get a visa. So I did all this thing, and then I arrived in New York, very happy. In 2007, I said, oh, the beginning of 2007. I got the scholarship in the end of 2005. It took me 1 year to get my things together so I could arrive there.
Wow.
So when I arrived there, as I told you, I lost my scholarship. I lost my scholarship. The person said, oh, I was not the person who signed that, and so it's not valid anymore. I said, really? Okay. So I went, can you give me 24 hours? Yeah, sure. So how much do I have to pay? Oh, you have to pay $3,000 for the semester. I said, can I split that payment in how many shares? Oh, you can do that per month until July. I said, fine. Give me 24 hours. I'll be back to you. So I went home where I was. I called my father, and she said, oh, great. So I'm going to book you for the next flight back to Brazil. And I said, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. I came all the way here. I'm going to find some way, honest way, of course. I would never do anything illegal, but I'm gonna work, and I'm gonna be here, and I'm gonna do this thing. And that was the story for the next 3 years of my life. I had to work as a slave to pay for my dance classes. I was always exhausted. Of course, I had no weekends. I had not a one weekend off, not one, to go to Central Park. My European friends at the school, at the end of the week, oh, I'm so tired. I'm going to take a bubble bath. I'm going to go to Central Park. And I was going to go to the restaurant to bus tables the whole freaking weekend and to take care of children. And then 9 a.m. on Monday, I had to be bouncing, in that freezing New York weather. And it was, but I don't, you know what, Vishal, I said, I'm going to do this thing. I don't know how much it's going to cost me, but I am going to do that. And I did that for 3 years. I swear to God, not one weekend off in New York. I didn't even go nearby the theater district because I didn't want to cry. I said, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go to the Graham School and to work. That's all. Because if I stop and walk on Times Square, I'm going to want to cry. So I don't want to do that myself. Not that I couldn't afford the ticket, but I had to choose. I have to pay the school, I have to pay rent, I have to pay this, I have to pay that. If I go to the theater, then I don't have enough to pay the school. So no theater,
Yeah.
no nothing, nothing
Yeah.
for me. And I
Mm-hmm.
did a lot of sacrifices until I ended up at the school. I think I had a scholarship in the last semester because I have to beg for a teacher. I said, listen, that was the beginning of the crisis. So all the jobs
Mm-hmm.
that I had, they were starting to cut, like
Cut it
babysitting
off.
cut. Um, when you don't have money, you have, you hold it. So that was the crisis in America in 2008, the crashing
Yeah.
of Wall
The
Street and
economy
all
was
that.
crashing. Yeah. Recession was
It was a
happening. Yeah.
huge recession. I had a friend
Yeah.
who lost his house. It was really dramatic, and I was almost finishing the school. My partner back then, I had a partner, and he helped me a lot. I'm so grateful for him. He was really helpful with everything, and he even helped me. He gave me a work. He owned a restaurant, so I worked for him. So I had, I didn't do so much physical work. I was more as a manager. He knew I was a dancer. I was always exhausted. He said, okay, so, make the reservations. And he tried to help me as best as he could. And, um, and then he said, listen, I think you should go back to your country. You do as best as you can to, finish the school. So, because I was doing not only the dancing um, course, but I was doing also the teaching program because I was really a teacher. And then I remember there was many auditions right after I finished. But as the recession was going, I was telling you about that before, like they were saying, listen, we don't you can take the audition, but if you don't have a green card, if you're not American, we're not taking you because
Yeah.
it's a recession. There's no jobs. There's a lot of scarcity, and we have to protect the locals. So I said, okay. So it was really now the environment for me to develop there, and at the same token, in my country, 10 years ago, we were about to explode like China because we were in of what they call BRIC. It's a group of
Mm-hmm.
countries with which India was a part of that. It's Brazil, China, Russia, India, like
Mm-hmm.
countries with the potential to be big, developed, economically potencies.
Mm-hmm.
And The dollar back then, it was like almost the same as real. Real is our currency. So we
Mm-hmm.
had a very strong currency. The economy was doing great. So Brazil is a very rich country. Despite of everything, Brazil has the size of a continent, and it's very rich. We have
Mm-hmm.
everything here. We have a beautiful nature. We have all the richnesses, you name it, fresh water, nature. We have everything. But
Mm-hmm.
we have one thing that's really bad. We have a horrible governors. We have a lot of corruption, and there's no political will here for people to be educated whatsoever. They
Mm-hmm.
really want to keep people as ignorant as possible so they can
Mm-hmm.
manipulate people, and they keep the continuing stealing from people. So
Mm-hmm.
even the government before this new one, the government before was a populist government. He said,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm taking people away from poverty, which is
Mm-hmm.
amazing to take people away from poverty. But if you don't give them education, they will never be free. They will
Mm-hmm.
never be able to stand on their two legs, and get themselves out
Yeah.
of the poverty situation. So it's
Yeah.
not giving them crumbs. So government here, when they do something for the people, is to give them crumbs. I'm going to give you a crumb and you're still going to be ignorant and miserable, so I can steal from you. And you think I'm a god because I'm giving you something, a crumb, piece of crumb. You know, so still, this is not what I think it should be done. So all of those things made me want to come back and make a difference. Because in America I would be another waitress or a busser, and I think I have so much more potential than that.
I'm actually going to make this quick because we have 20 minutes more, and I want to ask and talk to you about your school. You shared this beautiful experience about you in America and New York, how you went there, how you did everything. It's very inspiring, and I think it needs a lot of courage. It needs a lot of strength. And it needs a lot of spine. And I think not everybody and anybody could actually do something like that, because I have been to New York myself, and I have literally almost felt connected with your stories, because it was so much similar to what you're just saying, and the kind of hardship that I had to go through to achieve what I want to achieve. But it's amazing that after all those hardships, and you're here right now, inspiring people all around the world, even somebody like me who's sitting here in India, who's looking at your work and getting so inspired. So I would want to take you to your school. You came back from New York, and tell us something about your school. What is happening with your school right now, and what are you visioning for your school?
Well, when I came back to Brazil, I started to do a series called Brazilian Modern Dance Congress, because I thought that Brazil, I still think that we don't have education here. The information doesn't arrive, right? And the local teachers, they don't have enough to give. They don't know what they're doing. Contemporary.
I'm so sorry, Andrea. I think Ricardo here is trying to say something in Portuguese. I don't know how to read it.
Well, I cannot read myself. I cannot read the chat. But tell whoever wants to talk to me to write to me on private. Talk to them. But still, I can't read here the chat.
Okay, great.
What I wanted to say was that I started
the Congress.
Yeah, Congress. I started the Congress. I started to, to connect with the local community. I started very simple with some workshops, bringing foreign teachers from New York to Brazil to teach, a small workshop. So we started to get, notoriety here. Like I started to grab attention because I was bringing people from New York. I was paying from my own pocket, so the first years I paid from my own pocket. Okay, so I had, the students gave some money, of course, for the workshops, and I used that to make the production work. So I almost never got money for myself. Everything that I gathered was to make it happen. So but for 5 years I got the sponsorship from the government of Rio, so I attract their attention and they started to sponsor me. So the Congress grew, and then I had more money, and I started to do an event with 5 teachers from New York, and I also gave opportunities for local dancers to go to New York with everything paid. I never got that, but I did that for 9 people. I took them during 4 years in a row. We would choose the best dancers, and I would pay for the trip, apartment, food, Metrocard, classes. I only didn't put them in bed, but rather than that, I would give everything, right? So I gave that because I never had that. So I made sure would give them opportunities. Some of these people took the opportunity and developed their careers. Some of them spoiled the opportunity, and I'm sorry for that because the opportunity was given. And but some people really take it and go to another level with that, which is fantastic. And I'm very happy that one of my dancers is at Ballet Hispanico today, and he was at Ailey School. He was at Ailey
Mm-hmm.
too, but now he's in Ballet Hispanico, and he's a gorgeous dancer, and his life was completely transformed. He was really in
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
poverty here, and his life is completely transformed. And I have another dancer living in New York as well. She was in Le Mans School, and then now she's there. And here I started to do workshops, but I was looking for a way to make modern dance available for the whole country. But as I told you, Brazil is a gigantic country. It's
Yeah.
Europe. Europe fits inside Brazil. It's a
Yeah.
gigantic, it's a whole continent. I'm only one
Yeah.
person. And I was traveling, trying to teach workshops, but I said I'm only one person. So I was starting to study about info products. There's a lot of coaches,
Mm-hmm.
and I started to be an entrepreneur as well. I have my own business as a producer, so I was trying to gather money, and I was starting to research about info products. And I said, well, but if I do like pre-recorded classes, how
Mm-hmm.
can I communicate and how can I know if the student is getting the knowledge, if he's
Mm-hmm.
learning, if he's correct? Because when you give like a, and you know, if you went to Ailey or Graham, that they have like the
Yeah.
DVDs and Horton one
Yeah.
two three, Graham, blah blah blah. And I said, am I gonna do more of the same? Am I gonna be
Mm-hmm.
like recording this pre-recorded classes, and then I'm gonna charge and available that? But whoever is getting this information, are they
Mm-hmm.
going to understand that, or are they going to interpret that in a different
Mm-hmm.
way?
Yeah.
So as a teacher, I really missed the interaction. I said, this is not the way to do it. So when the pandemic started, I was planning another workshop. I was, moving around doing workshops. And then when the pandemic started, I had to, like everybody else, be stuck in the house. And then I work as also I have a second career as executive of a brand, American
Mm-hmm.
brand, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then we were always doing the Zoom meetings because my
Mm-hmm.
team is global. So I never connected the two, right? Zoom and
Mm-hmm.
dance. I never
Mm-hmm.
made this connection. But in the same week that we started, and that we were closed in March for quarantine, it was like March
Mm-hmm.
15, and I had an event in March 20th, like 5 days before my event. I
Mm-hmm.
I called my students and I said, listen, do you guys have Skype or something? Can I let me try to teach you through Skype, see if it
Mm-hmm.
works.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like weird, but I said, well, it works. I mean, I think it works. And then I said, well, I have Zoom. I work with Jeunesse Global with Zoom. So let me try Zoom. And then I
Mm-hmm.
started to play with that. And I put in
Mm-hmm.
the internet, and my students from over Brazil, they called me and they said, are you teaching online? I said, yeah, I am teaching online. I mean, I can't leave the house. What do you expect me to do? I'm not going to be sitting around. And they said, oh my God, this is such a huge opportunity for us that live away from you to be with you every day.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah.
is really? Do you want that? They said, oh, you don't know how happy we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, so now I have my answer. And it was the answer that I was looking for 10 years.
Yeah.
How am I going to spread modern dance concepts, knowledge for all over national territory? How, if I'm only
Mm-hmm.
one person, if people have no money, if I cannot travel back and forth, they cannot travel back and forth, how am I going to do that? So when pandemic came, it was really the answer that I was
Yeah.
searching for over a decade. Everything fitted together in a beautiful, perfect, aligned, like planets
Yeah.
aligned. And then I said, finally, now I know what to do. So it's
How are you, I'm sorry to cut you, but how are you reaching out to the maximum right now? Like, I understand that you have found the answer and you have found that, okay, Zoom is the medium to spread this nationally and bring it out to all the people who really want to achieve or gain what you're giving. But how are you reaching out to more people? Are you marketing yourself? Are you putting yourself out more?
you have to put yourself on then you have to be a business person. You have to use the
Yeah.
tool that internet offers you. What is it?
Mm-hmm.
Google ads. You have to pay. You pay to
Yeah.
advertise. Also, we all in the school. I can give you the link. It's a platform that it's a
Mm-hmm.
website. I have a
Mm-hmm.
person
Mm-hmm.
that helps me, of course, because I'm not the internet person. Like I don't do the digital marketing stuff, but there's a woman that I was approaching me from last year. She wanted to help me with the info products. But I
Mm.
was finding it really weird. I said it doesn't fit. It's not what I want. I don't want pre-recorded classes that exists already.
Yeah.
If you go to the Ailey boutique, you're gonna find plenty of videos. I don't want
Yeah.
to do another video.
You found
I
find on Amazon.
exactly. I wanna do the process. I want to be able to to guide them and to
Yeah.
tell and to see if they're doing right. So
Yeah.
that was the answer. So and of course she's helping me now that we found the format, the the
Mm-hmm.
the how to do it.
The
And it
medium.
has
Yeah.
exactly, because that was the answer. How are you going to do it this
Yeah.
way? So now that I found a way, then this is going to get a life of itself. As long as you're
Yeah.
persistent, you have to be consistent and
Yeah.
persistent, because everything grand, great and big, even alternately, started
Yeah.
in YMCA in the 60s. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
that, but Mr.
Of course.
Ailey
Of course. Yeah.
started in the YMCA little horrible room at YMCA
Yeah.
in the 60s. And
Yeah.
today, that's the Ailey institution. So everything
I
that's
know.
huge, big, and potent started small.
More.
But
Yeah.
it
Absolutely.
takes continuous effort, persistence, and consistency to get it, so every month, like we are in the third month, but people are arriving, asking, inquiring, taking the class. Of course, I always offer something for free, like a free open class,
Yeah.
open
Like a
to
demo.
exactly. And then people, they see, oh my god, I like it, and now they are understanding that in a room you can adjust your room, and you put a little piece of Marley, you can put a bar, you can make a bar with
Yeah.
pipe, you can make your own bar, and it's
Yeah. Yeah.
possible. It is possible. It's possible for people that don't have enough money to travel back and forth,
Yeah.
and there's no excuses, there's no frontiers, no barriers, no excuses for growth. So
Yep.
for me, that's how I am transforming all the odds. That's yeah,
That's
that's
amazing. Amazing. As a dancer, if you could go back in time, what advice and lessons learned today would you have had given to your younger self?
me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. And now you're making me
Um,
think. I don't know if I can answer you. I can think about it later, but I mean, I wish that I could have had me for me, like a person
yeah.
like me, with
Mm-hmm.
the guidance that I give to people. I
Mm-hmm.
wish I had somebody like me to my younger self,
Yeah.
because I only had people that pulled the rug under my feet, that
Mm-hmm.
that disencouraged me. I yeah, yeah, I didn't have good, I had some good teachers, but I didn't have an excellent teacher, like you know, like a master teacher. I didn't have
Yeah.
that at the younger
You were
days.
looking for a guide. You want a guide in your life who could be there for you and take you through.
I wanted a mentor, and I think I
Mentor.
became
Yeah.
one because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I wanted for me. So
Yeah.
I think sometimes
Yeah.
you have to make lemons into a lemonade. I think I have been doing that all
Absolutely.
my life. And turns
Absolutely.
like all the odds they're thrown at me, and I'm just, you know, doing the best that I can under the worst circumstances. But I think
Mm-hmm.
that makes your character, that builds you up as a stronger person. And I
Yeah.
think that that people that really mark other people are people that create something, like creators.
Yeah.
But because
Yeah.
before it's done, you don't know that's gonna work. I didn't know it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to work, but nobody
Very
done
true.
that. But if you don't do it, you never know.
You
So,
never know. Yeah.
but what if it's a huge success? You know, I don't know, but I'm trying. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's pretty
What is
much it.
something what is something that keeps you strong when things get difficult?
Boy, I don't know. I think it's spirituality. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
spiritual. I am very
Mm-hmm.
spiritual. Very, very. Have
Mm-hmm.
no idea how much spiritual I am. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I I just go within, and I try to connect with universe, God. I don't know. I mean, I don't have a religion like
A
just
set
one
specific. Yeah.
set strict, but I am very open to spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Brazilians are very spiritual. um,
Mm-hmm.
we have yeah, I'm very open to the spiritual world. And when things get really rough, I try to think, what is my mission in earth? What is the mission that I have to follow? What
Mm-hmm.
is my role? um yeah, and I just follow my intuition. I think I always follow my intuition. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very intuitive, I'm very spiritual, and I think that's what keeps me, up, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have 5 more minutes and I have two questions for you regarding your teaching. Okay? Because I see that you inspired me as a teacher, and that's what got me close to you to understand what you do. So if a student was lagging behind the rest of the class, how would you handle him or her
Put him in
as a
another
teacher?
class. Put in another class. Make another class. I
Mm-hmm.
have two classes that I've established in my school. It's not even gram 1. I have
Mm-hmm.
fundamentals 1, fundamentals 2, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to move them to gram 1.
Mm-hmm.
Before, you have to establish fundamentals, and you have to be very strict. If he doesn't get it, and you find a way to teach him separate, or if you can gather people separate in a slower class, then do a
Mm-hmm.
slower class until he get, because the beginning of the technique is literacy. It's like you're
Mm-hmm.
teaching a child to read, and you have to be patient. You don't
Yeah.
rush, you speed up a child's process of reading, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if you fail as a, how do you call, literacy teacher,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you're not going to build up a good dancer. So
Yeah.
the best teachers are the literacy teachers. It's the most difficult level of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
It's only for the good ones. If
Mm-hmm.
you're a good literacy teacher, then you're a good. It's very easy to teach a class for advanced dancers. You have nothing to do. Just say the combination, do this, that, and this is
Yeah. Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
to build up a dancer out of scratch, out of
Yeah.
nothing, that shows how powerful and how good you are, because you're
Mm-hmm.
transforming and you giving them all the tools. And I think I'm a
Yeah.
specialist on doing that. I'm a specialist of taking people out of nowhere and
Mm-hmm.
lead them to somewhere, to have something, to
Mm-hmm.
build up something. because you have,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's simple, you have to master that. You have to
Mm-hmm.
nail that, right?
Yeah.
The-
Mm-hmm.
and as more advanced as you get in the gram technique, for example, you
Mm-hmm.
see the power of the basic contraction. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't know the basic contraction, forget about the developments. Why people get so caught up in developments and fancy stuff, and the contraction itself gets lost. Then it's
Love.
not
Yeah.
gram
Very
technique.
true. Very
It's
true.
not gram technique. It's not. It's
Yeah.
just the teacher wanting to show off and tell everybody that he's a very fancy teacher, that he can build up very fancy sequences, but he doesn't know. I'm sorry, he doesn't know shit. You know, like, he doesn't know the real thing. The core of the work is the basic contractions, is to know the what is a release, what is a center, what is off center, what is a spiral. So if you don't teach literacy, then you don't know
Yeah.
the technique. Simple as
Yep.
that. A
I
fancy
agree.
sequence, a fancy sequence can be established on a later date. But if
Mm-hmm.
your student doesn't know the basic fundamentals of the technique, the person doesn't know the technique, period. That's all. And you have to be very
Agree.
strict on that, and very strict on technique. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm a good teacher. That's
Fantastic. So we have to almost end this, but I want to quickly ask you one last question. It was really amazing talking to you, really amazing to get that insight from your side. But one last question. What do you think about the human body in your job?
the human body, my job. Well, the human body is like, it can adjust. The
Mm-hmm.
human body is mutable, and it depends on the stimulus that you give it, the directions that you, if you give a very clear direction and
Mm-hmm.
you're consistent with the work, then you arrive places.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about, very clear commands, very clear directions, alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Alignment, it's sacred for dance, for the
Yeah.
work, for the body. Alignment, placement, clear directions, fundamentals. And then it's, you can do whatever you want with the human body. It doesn't
Very
matter.
true.
As long as you're aligned, you can, it's not impossible, because as long as you have two legs, two arms, of course, if you're not handicapped, but if you're, because then you're going to have different needs. But if
Yeah.
you are a regular human being, but you're given the very specific, clear directions, and of course, and if you train, if you honor that with your training as a ritual, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
commit to that as a ritual, it's a daily ritual of improving yourself. As yoga is about that, you know that. Yoga,
Yeah.
how many years it takes for you to master a position, and how many years it takes for you to arrive to, and you really have to, to work on that.
Yep.
It's work in progress. It's really a work in progress.
It was an honor talking to you, Andrea. It was absolutely amazing. I don't know how this 1 hour just went past by, but it was fantastic. Love to hear from you. Hopefully, we can take this to a next level, try to understand more about you, about what happens in Brazil. I would really love to know. I will keep in touch with you. We will do
Please,
something together, both in Brazil and in India.
that would
And
be a huge pleasure for me, a huge honor. I would love to collaborate with
yeah,
you. Just, we
yeah,
keep in touch. Write me as soon as you want. We can talk through Zoom. Zoom, we
yep,
can expand. Also, we can book. I'm gonna start to do like sessions on my school with foreign teachers to debate. So of course
yeah.
I'm gonna do, and yeah, sure, it's a
Please,
pleasure.
please. I would love to. I would love to keep in touch with you. Thank you so much for inspiring us, inspiring everybody in Brazil. And I think you're doing a fantastic job. I think Brazil deserves you, and they should be very lucky that it has you. Because I think I'm doing the same thing what you're doing here, and I exactly know how difficult it is. So
Yeah.
it's absolutely amazing. It's an honor. I will keep in touch with you. See you soon. Okay? And you
Thank
have a
you
good
so
day.
much, Vishal. Have a great day. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Bye bye. Ciao, ciao.